HOA Karen poured paint on community center walkway, sued and fined $160,000. The paint can hit the ground with a hollow clang, neon green splattering across the community center's walkway like a venomous spill. Karen stood there, arms crossed, smirking as if she'd just won a war nobody else knew was being fought. The mural vibrant swirls of color painted by kids and volunteers over weeks of laughter and sweat lay ruined under her handiwork. It was a sunny Saturday in Oak Ridge, a quiet suburban neighborhood where the community center was the beating heart of connection. The walkway mural, a kaleidoscope of handprints, flowers, and hopeful quotes, had been unveiled just days before. Kids had giggled as they dipped their hands in paint. Retirees had shared stories while sketching outlines, and even the shy teens had joined in, leaving their mark. It was a symbol of unity, a rare moment when everyone felt they belonged. But Karen, the HOA president with a clipboard always at the ready, saw it differently. To her, it was tacky, unauthorized, a blight on her vision of a pristine neighborhood. The trouble started innocently enough. At the last HOA meeting, Karen had stormed in, her heels clicking like a metronome of disapproval. This mural nonsense wasn't approved. She'd snapped, waving a copy of the HOA bylaws like a holy text. It's an eyesore, and it's coming down. The room had erupted in protests. Parents, artists, even old Mr. Jenkins, who rarely spoke, stood up to defend the project. But Karen was unmoved. "Rules are rules," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "If you don't like it, move to a less civilized neighborhood." By Monday, whispers of her plan spread. She'd been seen at the hardware store, buying cans of garish neon paint. Nobody thought she'd actually do it. Surely, even Karen, with her endless complaints about untrimmed hedges and improper mailbox colors, wouldn't stoop to vandalism. But that Saturday morning, as families gathered for the community center's weekly art class, they found her standing over the walkway, paint cans at her feet, the mural defaced beyond recognition. The crowd grew quickly. Maria, a single mom who'd helped her daughter paint a tiny sunflower on the mural, was the first to confront her. "What have you done?" she shouted, her voice cracking with disbelief. Karen didn't flinch. "I'm protecting property values," she said, as if she'd just mowed an overgrown lawn. This mess was lowering the neighborhood's standards. The audacity of it stunned Maria into silence, but others weren't so restrained. Teenagers snapped photos, their fingers flying across phones to spread the word. Retirees shook their heads, muttering about entitlement. And then there was Lila, the young artist who'd led the mural project, her eyes brimming with tears as she stared at the neon wreckage. Lila was new to Oak Ridge, a quiet 20-something with a knack for bringing people together through art. She'd poured her heart into the mural, staying late to perfect details, coaxing shy kids to join in, even convincing the local hardware store to donate supplies. For her, the mural wasn't just paint, it was a promise that this community could be a home. Now, standing before the ruin, she felt like she'd been punched. "You didn't just ruin paint," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "You ruined something we built together." Karen rolled her eyes. "Oh, spare me the dramatics. It's just a sidewalk. I'll have it power washed by Monday." But the crowd wasn't having it. Voices rose, overlapping in a cacophony of outrage. "You can't just destroy our work. Who gave you the right? This is our community, not your kingdom." Karen's smirk faltered, but she doubled down. "I'm the HOA president. I decide what's acceptable. If you don't like it, sue me." That was the spark. Unbeknownst to Karen, someone in the crowd was already thinking along those lines. Enter Tom, a soft-spoken accountant who'd moved to Oak Ridge a year ago. Tom was the kind of guy who faded into the background, always polite, always punctual, never one to make waves. But he had a secret. He'd been a paralegal in his younger days, and he knew a thing or two about legal battles. As the crowd's anger swelled, Tom slipped away, already drafting a plan in his head. He'd seen Karen's overreach before fining people for minor infractions, bullying neighbors into compliance, but this was different. This was destruction, and he wasn't going to let it slide. By evening, the story was everywhere. Social media exploded with photos of the ruined mural, hashtags like "Shot Justice for Oak Ridge" trending locally. The community center's board, usually a sleepy group, called an emergency meeting. Lila spoke first, her voice raw but resolute. This wasn't just vandalism, she said. It was an attack on what makes us a community. Maria followed, holding up her daughter's tiny handprint, now buried under neon green. My kid cried herself to sleep tonight. Karen doesn't get to walk away from this. The room buzzed with agreement, and Tom, stepping out of his usual shadow, proposed the unthinkable, a lawsuit. Karen, meanwhile, was unbothered. She sat in her pristine living room, sipping wine and scrolling through her phone, dismissing the online outrage as hysteria. When a neighbor texted her about the lawsuit rumors, she laughed. "Let them try," she said to her husband, who nodded absently. "Used to her tirades. They'll never win. I'm within my rights as HOA president." But her confidence was about to be tested. The lawsuit came together faster than anyone expected. Tom, with his paralegal know-how, connected with a local attorney who took the case pro bono, incensed by Karen's audacity. The community rallied, pooling funds for legal fees and gathering evidence photos, witness statements, even security footage from the community center showing Karen in the act, paint can in hand. The complaint was airtight vandalism, destruction of community property, and emotional distress. The dollar amount, a staggering $160,000, covering the mural's restoration, legal costs, and punitive damages. When Karen was served the papers, her smirk vanished. "This is absurd," she shouted at the process server, who shrugged and walked away. At the HOA's next meeting, she tried to rally support, painting herself as the victim. "They're attacking me for doing my job," she insisted. But the room was cold. Even her usual allies, people who'd once nodded along to her rants about standards, turned away. The tide had shifted, and Karen was alone. The trial was a spectacle. The courtroom buzzed with Oak Ridge residents, some holding signs with the mural's handprints. Lila testified first, her voice steady as she described the mural's creation and its meaning. "It was about belonging," she said, her eyes locking on Karen's. "You took that from us." Maria followed, her daughter clinging to her side, too shy to speak but a powerful symbol of the hurt. Tom's testimony was the clincher, his calm delivery laying out Karen's pattern of overreach, from petty fines to this final act of destruction. The security footage played on a loop, Karen's smug expression undeniable as she poured paint across the walkway. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Mid-trial, a new witness emerged, Mrs. Delaney, a reclusive widow who rarely left her house. She'd been watching from her window that Saturday, too frail to join the crowd, but sharp enough to record the whole thing on her phone. Her video wasn't just damning, it was devastating. It caught Karen not only pouring the paint, but laughing as she did it, mocking the mural's childish designs. The courtroom gasped, and the judge's face hardened. Mrs. Delaney, trembling but firm, said, "I've lived here 40 years. That mural was the first time I felt this place had a soul." She had no right. Karen took the stand last, and it was a disaster. She rambled about property values, HOA authority, and her duty to maintain order. But her words rang hollow. The judge cut her off, asking pointedly, "Did you consider asking the community before acting?" Karen's silence was answer enough. The verdict came swiftly, guilty on all counts. The fine was set at $160,000, a sum that made Karen's face go white. The courtroom erupted in cheers, but Lila just sat quietly, tears streaming down her face. It wasn't about the money, it was about justice. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The HOA removed Karen as president, her reputation in tatters. Neighbors who'd once feared her now ignored her. And her house, once the envy of Oak Ridge, went up for sale. She couldn't afford the fine, and whispers of bankruptcy followed. The community, meanwhile, rebuilt. Lila led a new mural project, this time with even more volunteers, including Mrs. Delaney, who brought cookies and stories of Oak Ridge's past. The new mural was brighter, bolder, with a handprint from every resident who wanted one. At its center, a small plaque read, "Art unites, hate divides." As the community healed, the story spread beyond Oak Ridge. News outlets picked it up, framing it as a David and Goliath tale of neighbors standing up to a tyrant. Social media buzzed with debates. Was Karen's punishment too harsh? Was the mural worth fighting for? The questions lingered, but one thing was clear: the community had spoken, and Karen had paid the price for her hubris. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or did the community go too far? Share your thoughts.